let's bring in former federal prosecutor and constitutional law attorney Katie Cherkasky. Katie, good morning to you. What were your observations from yesterday's testimony?
Well, Michael Cohen conceded that he is out to see Trump behind bars. He's willing to lie under oath. And even yesterday, he was still playing semantic games about what is a lie, what is an untruth. So he's made it very clear that his testimony can't be believed, but even more than his credibility issues, I think that his testimony about the actual elements of the offense falls very flat. I don't understand why, still to this day, that the expense of a legal expense or retainer is false or misleading in this circumstance. Lawyers are allowed to front costs for their clients and be paid later, and it's really the lawyer's fault if there's not a written retainer agreement that exists. So it was really unclear how he established any of the elements of the offense. I still don't think the prosecution has gotten there.
Yeah, and when it comes to the lie, Michael Cohen's defense was, yeah, I lied, but it was only out of loyalty to my boss. I lied under oath, I lied to Congress, I didn't tell my wife everything, I went to prison, but only out of loyalty. It kind of reminds you of a mob trial where prosecutors are trying to paint Donald Trump as the Don and Michael Cohen as like a sympathetic lackey that was just following orders. Do you think that's going to work with jurors?
Well, it's not going to work because Michael Cohen also lied in circumstances that had nothing to do with Donald Trump. And the reason that you're allowed to cross-examine a witness about their past credibility issues is because when somebody is willing to lie, especially under oath, you cannot really trust them in the future. People lie for all sorts of reasons, and you can't determine, there's no such thing as a human lie detector to determine whether someone is telling the truth. So the best way to determine that is whether they have been truthful in the past. And Michael Cohen is the furthest thing from that, as we all know.
So what happens now? Michael Cohen is prosecutor's last witness, so what does the defense do?
Well, the defense has a decision to make about whether they put on any case at all. Many times you'll see the defense not put on any witnesses or any case, as we would call it, because their case is that the prosecution failed to prove up their own case. And here, of course, Donald Trump may be able to take the stand.
Wow.
I don't think he will. I don't think he needs to. I'm sure his attorneys have advised against it, but it ultimately is the defendant's choice whether they testify.
And there's still that possibility of the directed verdict. The judge looks at everything, says there's no case here. Jurors, thank you for your time. You're going home. This case is dismissed. Final thoughts on the possibility of that happening?
Well, I do believe the defense will move for a directed verdict. And essentially what that means is that when the prosecution rests their case, that they have failed to present at least some evidence of one of the elements of the offenses. And the standard is very high. Even if there's minimal evidence, it cannot be granted. But in this case, I still do not understand, again, where there is evidence of a false business entry. They did not put up an accounting expert of some sort to say that this is an improper way to document this. How else would Michael Cohen have been reimbursed by this? Because again, this was a lawful agreement. He had to be paid back.
He's a lawyer. It was filed as under legal fees.
He held himself out as Trump's attorney. So
it has been a wild few weeks and more to come. Katie, thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.